There's a quiet deception in life, and it slips in unnoticed. It whispers gently, "You can do it tomorrow." It tells you there's plenty of time. That missing one day doesn't matter. That skipping one promise to yourself won't change anything. And while that voice feels harmless, it's laying bricks. Bricks on the road to regret. No one sets out to build a life of disappointment. Yet brick by brick, neglect by neglect, they look up one day and wonder, how did I get here? It wasn't a catastrophic failure. It wasn't one great betrayal. It was the small daily disciplines, ignored. And the thing about regret is this: it doesn't come with warning signs. It doesn't announce its arrival. It shows up quietly, often in the middle of the night, long after the opportunity to fix things has slipped through your fingers. Every day, in every small decision, you are making a trade. You're either buying your future freedom with disciplined effort, or you're purchasing future regret at a price far greater than you ever imagined. You don't pay for regret at the checkout counter. You pay for it in the lost years. In the health you can't get back. In the relationships that grew cold because you were too busy, too distracted, too undisciplined to nurture them. You pay for it in opportunities missed, not because they didn't knock, but because you weren't prepared when they did. It's not dramatic. It's not loud. It's quiet. Regret always begins in the shadows of small neglects. You skip a workout, and it feels harmless. You spend another hour scrolling, and it feels harmless. You put off the important conversation, and it feels harmless. But the days become weeks. The weeks become months. And one day, you wake up staring into a mirror, wondering who you could have become if only you had been disciplined enough to try. And this is where we face a brutal truth: discipline is always cheaper than regret. Always. Yes, discipline costs time. It costs effort. It requires sacrifice, discomfort, and sometimes even pain. But regret? Regret costs your soul. It steals the joy of becoming. It robs you of pride in your own reflection. It follows you into old age, whispering about what could have been. You see, every discipline you build today is a seed planted for tomorrow's harvest. And every discipline you ignore is a crop that will never grow. This is the law of the farm. You cannot plant nothing and expect abundance. You cannot avoid the work and pray for the rain to fall. The man who refuses to prepare the soil will curse the sky when winter comes. But whose fault is it, really? Was it the weather, or the wasted spring? There is a season for planting and a season for reaping. But do not confuse them. Do not believe you can harvest a life of greatness when you've sown a life of comfort and avoidance. Discipline is not punishment. It is the great act of self-love. It is proof that you believe in your own future. It's saying to the person you'll become, "I cared enough about you to do the hard things today." Because one day, that future version of you will sit in a room, perhaps alone, perhaps surrounded by success, and they will either thank you for the hours you invested, or they will curse the hours you wasted. That's the inescapable reality of life. Every action is a vote for the person you will become. And the terrifying part? You don't get to opt out. Even inaction is a vote. Every time you choose ease over effort, you're casting a ballot against your own potential. And those votes accumulate. They don't vanish at the end of the week. They pile up. Like unseen weights, dragging you toward a version of life you never wanted, but fully earned. This is why success isn't about grand moments. It isn't forged in the spotlight. It's built in the silence, in the early mornings when the world is asleep and you lace up your shoes anyway. It's in the late nights when everyone else is numbing their minds, and you choose to read, to learn, to grow. It's in the 1,000 tiny decisions that no one sees but that shape everything you'll ever experience. Jim Rohn said it best: the pain of discipline weighs ounces. The pain of regret weighs tons. The question is, which burden do you want to carry? Because the disciplines you avoid today? They don't simply vanish. They mature into chains. They become the silent prisons that hold you back from the life you were fully capable of living. And the worst part? You'll see others living it. You'll watch the ones who chose discipline reaping the harvests you could have had. And in those moments, regret doesn't just whisper, it roars. But hear this carefully, this is not a message of hopelessness. It's a wake-up call. Because no matter how many years you've lost to indiscipline, today is still available. The next hour is still unwritten. And if you take it seriously, if you pour yourself fully into it, you can begin building a new path. Not through dramatic declarations, but through small, daily disciplines stacked like bricks, laying the foundation of a life you will one day be proud to call your own. You see, success is never a mystery to those who understand the process. It's simply a matter of sowing and reaping, of cause and effect, of discipline and reward. The question you must wrestle with is not whether life will give you what you ask for, but whether life will respond to what you deserve. Life doesn't hand out prizes for wishful thinking. It hands out rewards for planted seeds, for cultivated habits, for the silent hours you spend doing the right things when no one is watching. Think about a stonecutter. Day after day, he strikes the rock with his hammer. 1 blow, nothing. 2 blows, nothing. 10, 20, 50 blows, still nothing. But on the 100th strike, the rock splits. Was it the final blow that made the difference? Or was it the 100 before that no one saw? That's discipline. That's how success works. Quiet, relentless, unseen until it's undeniable. But the tragedy is, most people never make it to that 100th strike. They quit at the 50th. They get tired at the 60th. They convince themselves it wasn't meant to be at the 70th. And so, their life remains a collection of half-built efforts and abandoned dreams. The disciplines you ignore today become the silent reminders of what you could have finished, but didn't. It's not just about careers and finances. It's about everything that makes life rich and meaningful. The discipline to listen instead of argue in a relationship. The discipline to eat what nourishes instead of what numbs. The discipline to invest an hour in your children's lives instead of handing them a device to raise them. These are the disciplines that don't make headlines but shape destinies. And here's what you must understand. Life is always asking you one question: are you ready for what you say you want? If you're asking for wealth but practicing financial recklessness, life says no. If you're asking for deep, loving relationships but offering shallow attention, life says no. If you're asking for success but living in procrastination, life says no. Not out of cruelty, but out of perfect justice. Because life does not give you what you ask for. It gives you what you earn. And the currency is discipline. You cannot negotiate this. You cannot bypass it. You can only pay the price or suffer the debt. But here's the beautiful truth: no matter where you are, you can begin paying that price right now. You can decide that today will be the day you draw a line in the sand. The day you stop lying to yourself about someday. The day you refuse to push the hard things into the fog of tomorrow. Because tomorrow is a seductive liar. Tomorrow promises you time it has no authority to give. Tomorrow makes you rich with excuses and bankrupt in results. And every time you believe it, you delay the harvest you could have already started enjoying. Look around. The people you admire most aren't necessarily the most gifted. They're the ones who got serious about their future before life forced them to. They didn't wait for the alarm bells of regret to wake them up. They built their future one disciplined hour at a time, long before anyone was applauding. And that's the real test, isn't it? Can you work when no one's watching? Can you stay consistent when there's no instant reward? Can you choose the difficult path simply because you respect yourself too much to choose anything less? You don't need permission to change your life. You don't need perfect conditions. What you need is resolve. A decision so firm that it survives bad days, tired nights, and the absence of applause. The same rain falls on every field. But only the farmer who prepared his soil will see a harvest. And make no mistake, life will test you before it rewards you. It will check your resolve. It will ask, do you really mean it this time? And it will present you with every opportunity to break your own promise. That's why discipline isn't a moment, it's a lifestyle. It's waking up and choosing the path of growth even when every cell in your body screams for comfort. The gym doesn't care if you show up. The books don't mind if they gather dust. The goals you wrote down won't cry if you abandon them. But you will. In some future moment, you will feel the sharp sting of knowing you could have done better. That is the weight of regret. And nothing is heavier. So trade it. Trade regret for effort. Trade comfort for character. Trade easy days for a life you're proud to live. Because when it's all said and done, you won't remember every day you struggled. But you will remember the day you decided it was worth it. And from that day forward, every discipline you honored became a step away from regret and a step toward the life you were born to create. This is your hour. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Right here, right now. Decide. And then get to work.